Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Bruce Buffington, your host of the show, and my co-host is Ann Morrow. Cycology Today is brought to you by Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, a non-profit organization. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Northwest Bicycle Safety Council for providing the meal for our volunteer crew. Our title today for the show is Bike, and Ann will help us figure out what that is in just a few moments. I would like to extend a special thanks to REI, the Hillsborough store, for awarding Northwest Bicycle Safety Council a grant today. We will have more on our website regarding the grant, and we will have representatives from REI to present that award on our next show. So, what do you say we get started, Ann?
Okay, thank you, Bruce. You know, there are many niches of cyclists in the bicycle-friendly city of Portland. There are recreational riders, commuters, cyclocross, racers, and there's a lot of overlap. But the commonality is the bicycle. And while our riding styles may differ, we share the link of the bicycle and we're able to learn from each other. So tonight we have some guests that are more into racing, but I think that we can learn from them. And really tonight's show is a human interest story about cycling and about family and accomplishment and empowerment. Our main guest tonight is John Benenati of Bike, B-I-K-E, and I'll let him explain that organization to us. He wears many hats in our community. And so we'll get to know John a little bit better first, and then the second half of our show we're going to talk to some of his team members. So, John, why don't we talk about you? This is John Benenati again. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history as a bicyclist?
Well, Ann, first of all, I want to say how thankful I am that you all invited us on. We're thrilled to be here. For me, it's been quite an odyssey of just, you know, being a BMX bike racer at the Greenwood Boys and Girls Club in Seattle to touring and finding my way all the way to the coast from Portland, and then being a bicycle messenger for many years on the streets of Portland. And I raced with the Air Force. And then one evening I had a tragic accident and fell off of a deck. It's amazing how you can survive for so many years as a bicycle messenger. And then sure enough, my mom always said, you have to be careful. You can hurt yourself, you know, falling out of a tub. And it literally was a hot tub. And, you know, that seems like a terrible thing, but it really changed my life and put me in a situation where I was much more powerful in cycling than I ever was as a below-average bicycle racer. And it put me in a situation that was truly satisfying of helping my beloved sport, my beloved activity grow. And I have a hand cycle now, and I was just looking over into the eyes of one of my dear friends who's, she's actually the daughter of one of our board members, and she's about 8, and I was just falling off the Alameda Ridge, and we were going maybe 15, 20 miles an hour, but I was just so happy to be with my friends and to be finally getting a little speed downhill, and I looked over at her and said, "Woohoo!" And she looked back at me and said, "Woohoo!" And it was as good as anything I've ever had going 60 miles an hour into a 30-mile-an-hour corner off a skyline, with my helmet on, of course. So that's what I'm doing now. Bike is a nonprofit, bringing athletes up, helping them to engage the sport, engage their goals, trying to create folks with a global vision. I think we play such an important role as cyclists. I think we're really leaders for society, and so I try to encourage that leadership and try to get them centered on how they want to express it.
It is more than just bicycling. But tell us about BIKE. What does B-I-K-E stand for, and when did you organize BIKE?
Well, Bicycles and Ideas for Kids Empowerment, the actual acronym, a creation of my old team captain at Portland State and my hero on the street back when we were messengers, Tim Bergman. He was the person who thought of how the acronym could fit together and make it spell BIKE. We use the lowercase letters to imply children, but I really respond to the children in anyone. I feel that if anyone comes to me and says, help me be a state champ, I'm at their service from that moment. So in the process of engaging, say, the college age mentors, it's more about helping them to emphasize benevolence, good form, simplicity, and team. And still, those same edicts applied to a child, it tends to be more academics. And how do we make our way in society? How much do you tip a waiter at your table? How do we act and carry ourselves in certain social norms? So it's a great opportunity for us to sort of overthink that tonight, filming a TV spot.
Yeah.
You know, this is sort of, I think of it as being a pinnacle in society. You know, we have to wait 3, 2, 1 and be on point. So, you know, more than just cycling for sure.
Definitely. Tell us a little bit about this summer's activities, because I've read your blog, and you know, you guys have been racing, and like you say, there's been some academics, there's been some gardening and that sort of thing. So tell us what some of your activities for the 2008 season.
Well, some of the kids are involved in other great programs around town, like I'm mindful of Self-Enhancement Inc. and Urban League, and they have assignments at those after-school programs as well. So by the time we see the assignment, we're really helping them get their homework done. There's a lot of academia going on in after-school programs around the city, and so I'm mindful of the Biddy Owens story that we just wrote about, the baseball player Biddy Owens, and we worked on that in the computer lab. And then it was off to Starbucks, where we grabbed the leftover coffee grounds before we ran to the garden, where we're planting in a symbiotic relationship pumpkins and corn, which is much taller than everybody now. Then we tow me and my wheelchair down to the library, and then we put me on the train and raced the train back, and it's back up to Portland State, where it's about time to put the bikes away and catch the bus and go home. That's a typical day. We go all sorts of places to further our understanding of the world. PALS is popular.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good.
And right now we're getting back into school, and we're engaging teachers and getting to know where our areas of strength and weakness are, and we're working with parents, and we are almost always eating, and we're starting to get strong enough to where we can train with the adults. I'm always training the adults. The adults are many ages. I have 40-year-olds, 20-year-olds, a big contingent from the Portland State campus. So the cyclocross has started. We're not all going full speed with cyclocross yet, but we will be by the time the Cross Crusade starts.
And that's kind of just starting, isn't it?
Well, the season is upon us, and you know, Portland is verily a little Belgium nowadays. I mean, there's so much cyclocross here. People really have just flipped for cyclocross. Since the Nationals a couple years back, there must be 5,000 crossers in town. So the Kermesse came, the Jeff Mitchum's events, and then there's a lot of cyclocross brewing right now. We probably won't surface until maybe Hood River or the Cross Crusade. We're just working on it right now. We're still figuring out how to jump on and off our bikes.
Now, tell me, earlier this season, you guys used the velodrome, is that right? You've done velodrome racing, or at least some of your team does, and the criteriums. And so why don't you explain some of these different types of racing and how your teams participated?
Well, I'm very proud to look back upon the cyclocross, or I mean the velodrome and the criterium season we just had. It was truly one of Cyclisma. Our team, our official team name is called Bike River City Bicycles by Cyclisma this year. And our season was very successful so far. Deshaun Lee won the bronze medal in the state championship. The difference between racing on the velodrome, which is the big bowl at Alpenrose Dairy, and the criterium is the banking. It's almost 40 degrees, and so I think of the velodrome as being a college of finishes. The solo breakaway, the match sprint, the team pursuit. It's really the velodrome where you go to find that finish. I was very interested, and I was taught something this year as I discovered all these college kids who ride fixed gears. We started at the velodrome. Now, typically, we discover the fixed gear after we've been touring and road riding for many years. These kids all came straight to the sport from the fixed gear. It's just so hip on the street right now to ride around in a fixed gear. And lo and behold, we got on the velodrome. We were very successful. We started to build our endurance. Next thing you know, we were strong enough for the criterium. And it dawns on me that Mark Tyson, the great pro coach Olympic coach from the Olympic velodrome, told me many, many years ago, start beginner racers out on the velodrome. And lo and behold, here it was. Well, so you get, the thing is to remember is that the velodrome, a minute is endurance. On a criterium, a half an hour, 45 minutes, that's endurance. Road racing, 2, 4, Lance Armstrong, 6 hours is endurance. So building the systems up to get there is a process we need to take in God's time. You know, it's got to come as it will.
But you found that really worked this summer.
I found it really worked. I've been coaching now since '92, and I haven't ever brought a body of athletes up starting at the velodrome. And I think this was maybe our most successful year. I mean, for the number of people we had and the way we were racing, we're just very effective this year.
And what about some future goals that you might have? I mean, you've had such a great year. What are you thinking about now for the future?
Well, we just created, we have 3 programs that we're best at, I think. One of them is our 3-time national models 6-week summertime day camp called Kids on Bikes. And of course, that was handed to us by the Olympic Training Center. Our core programming is what we're participating in tonight. And Rollers 101 is an after-school program that just really engages folks at right where they're at, whether they need to just see a magazine or maybe they actually get on the rollers or maybe we actually go for a ride. But Rollers 101 is this very sensitive little after-school program. Well, we took the core programming to Syracuse, New York, and it's huge. They have 45 children eating breakfast every Saturday and going for big rides. I mean, rain, sleet, snow. They have photos, and you can see that at bikesyracuse.org. You can see them out in the snow. And you know it's like negative, 9 degrees below zero or something. So they're a tough bunch of folks. And we've been invited by Indianapolis to come and start something near the Major Taylor Velodrome. So we're working on that. I say I'm trying to deflate the military-industrial complex, address the ills of 400 years of American slavery, one bicycle at a time sometimes. But what I think I'm really trying to emphasize with these guys is college of the world champs. You know, I say, hey, you guys, one of these days we're going to negotiate together a multi-million-dollar real estate deal on the 34th floor of a tower in Rome. What are you going to say? And, we're up to like, buongiorno, come stai? But we're working on it, trying to create a global vision. I think it's just so important. There's such critical times for us bicycle riding community leaders. We all are. We're such an example to everyone who sees us pedal by.
Yes.
I try to get all of us to wear that responsibility.
Now, aside from bike, tell us about other things. You have other activities, other hats that you wear in the community. Tell me about all those. I'm thinking we need to clone you.
Well, you're very kind. I sometimes feel like a basket case. I'm currently running down at Portland State. I'm just about to graduate, but I'm running the Disability Advocacy and Cultural Association. I'm really, I mean, now that I'm into it, I'm beginning to understand why, but I didn't know why I got into it other than my mother told me to. She said that I should get with folks that also have disabilities and start working with them. And I didn't know what she was talking about, but it wouldn't leave my mind. So I figured, like so many things my mother says, I had to just do it to get it, to get past it. So, and now I'm involved, and it's very satisfying to work with the disabled student body at Portland State. They're a great bunch of folks. We have a new hand cycling program developing with Campus Rec. We have a wheelchair basketball thing happening, and able-bodied people come and play. So there's a big line to sit in a wheelchair and play basketball.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great upper body workout, so cyclists really ought to take note.
Now, speaking of the college, you have some kind of not like a velodrome type thing over there that you don't quite call the velodrome.
No, we actually, most people would just call it a block, but we call it the ghetto-drome.
Yes.
And it's we practice there a lot. It's simply a square block that we've made some what we call lore, the lore of Cyclisma.
I see.
Cyclisma is now a 15-year-old club here in Portland, verily out of the roots of Oregon Velo and the Heathman Pub team and Multnomah Athletic Club. So this is just one more piece of lore. We have some lore in Ladd's Addition and up on Fairmont Loop, and the Ghetto-Drome is a place we use to practice the 90-degree turn. If I was to think of a criterion, it's no banking like the velodrome, but you still have to make a tough turn.
Yeah.
We see them in the Tour de France just power slide around those corners, or in mountain bike racing. So we're not quite there yet, but we're learning how to take the turn wide, cut off the apex, and finish wide.
And you found a place in the inner city to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that we also have to continually hone our skills of relating to the traffic. I think eye contact's very important, lots of personal communication. I try to develop all of my racers' ability to communicate with car traffic. It doesn't have to be an adversarial scenario. We're just operating different devices, so we try to be giving and benevolent and full of expression, constantly inviting cars to do it first, things like that, to really make sure that we have a smooth relationship. And typically when we go on a team ride, we don't fall down, we don't get honked at, we don't have a lot of trouble, and we move right across the city. So
you do a lot of city riding.
We really have to. Yeah. The children live in North Portland, we're down at Portland State. I mean, you can climb to Terwilliger, Dosh, and get up on Skyline, and that's one way out, but when you're 13, that's not the first goal.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we're on the street all the time. We're on the street all the time, coexisting. Sometimes that means aggressively taking our place, but always mindful of safety and the rules of the law, and also the feelings of the other human beings that are around us. If you're on a city block, there may be 10 people moving with you at 20, 30 miles an hour, but those are people. They may have their air conditioning on, or they may be text messaging, but if we can relate to them from our bicycles, we tend to get through it safely. Eye contact goes a long ways. Eye contact is really the thing.
Good advice. Let me kind of switch gears here a little bit, because this isn't your first television show. You were on Oprah. Tell me how that came about and what developed from that.
I don't know if your viewers remember the famous Cobb sisters, Angel and Niecy Cobb. It really started with a couple of nice letters from them. They wanted to be on the Oprah show, and I didn't think much of it. But then Tracy Berry of Channel 8 decided I was going to be on the Oprah show, and she really took the whole thing in hand. And next thing you knew, we were getting called by the producers there, and they came out and filmed one of my camps. I had the Oregon Bicycle Racing Regional Development Camp that year out in Camp Harlow in Eugene. And they came and made it Oprah West, and it was such a thrill. And then it got to go back, and they were very kind to us there, and they've been very supportive, and they've always kept an eye on how our program was going ever since. And
is Oprah's Angels, is that what it's called? Are you still part of that?
It doesn't seem like a good term for me, does it? Yeah, that's one of the 52. I'm very honored, and she and her organization are just a blessing to all of us. I wasn't such a big fan before. I didn't know And man, I'm a fan now. Oprah Magazine and everything. I can speak her praises all day.
Well, good. Why don't you, I'd like you to tell us, back to more of your race team, tell us about the Swan Island Criterium, or the CRIT as you call it in race lingo. You described that race for me the other day, and it sounded very exciting, and your teammates really came through, or your team did, and I'd like to hear about that race from you.
Well, I like that race very much because it doesn't require any logistics for our team. We can be ready to go the night before, and then we come together, we roll down Going Avenue, we're on Swan Island. So it's really a good fit for us. And also, it's not a hard 90-degree turn anywhere in that course. It's almost a circle. So we don't need to be our most technically advanced athlete. So, for example, it was Naquan's first race ever. And I might have that wrong. That was your first. That was right? And so he was very successful. He and Deshaun worked together. It was a thrill to me to see the two of them be such good teammates. Really no surprise. Deshaun's a natural captain, and he always herds everybody into the right spot. But, you know, I get butterflies before races when I groom my racers to be ready to enter the Oregon Bicycle Racing Association world, Oberland we call it. And when we get out there and do it right, it's a relief. I get really excited. I'm the loudest person typically on the sidelines. So.
And I saw you at the Vancouver Crit, and and how did that go for your team?
Well, the mentors are also an important part of the racing program and the development program, and they finished first, second, third, fifth, and sixth, and we were all just speechless after that. I mean, that is the kind of success that leaves your cup full for many races after that. There's just no doubt. Now, I'm personally not really that concerned with racing. I mean, with winning. I don't really. I noticed that only one person wins, and if you have 50 people racing or 75 people, it's still only one. It's kind of an elitist position. I'm not that. I don't need to win. So, but when it does happen, and everybody gets to enjoy it, you know, 5 people were all terribly proud of themselves. The whole team on the side. I enjoy the relief. I enjoy the good feeling of success. So.
And I think that's what you saw is that teamwork and working together.
Absolutely.
And,
everything we had worked on now has just come to fruition. Wow, we did it right. You know, I mean, it's almost a surprise. I mean, it shouldn't be, but you know, every time it is.
And how many kids do you have involved in your program then, or
well,
do you know?
I've been attending college of late, so our program verily has atrophied. And in this period that I've been returning to college, I've really been trying to look over all aspects of our nonprofit and everything in the curriculum. And one thing that's really come to me is one child at a time. And that is an attitude that I want to take into our organization and my work for the rest of my career. Even if you have 100 children, I want to work with them and towards their success, one human being at a time. So right now we have about 25 folks working in our organization, but you know, Cyclisma racing programs have easily been 60 to 80 people at a time. 40 people is an average. So 25 is a small team.
Kind of touched on it, but what motivates you? You're so busy and you've got your hands in so many things. What keeps you going?
I think I was a little bit embarrassed when I first got hurt. I was a bike racer. I was in the bicycle racing scene, and everybody was worried about me, and I didn't want everyone to worry. And so I got to work going faster, maybe even than some folks who are able-bodied. Now that I begin to see what the work does for America, I'm very honored as an American, a civilian, a citizen, to be doing my part. There's a lot of issues that I see on the table in America, and I'm working with those, from issues of civil rights to issues of how we manage our economics. I get to, without having to talk about it too much, practice what I believe in on a daily basis. So I'm very honored. And then when I work with these children, you know, I learn so much. It's constantly new. It's a great honor. I don't need much motivation. It constantly comes from the job itself.
Thank you, John.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, we've gotten to know John a little better now. Bruce, let's go back to you, and when we come back, we'll be visiting with John, some of John's team.
Well, thank you, Ann. I'll tell you, I visited their club. It was a few years ago, and they had a bike ride. I think it was an annual bike ride. And what a pleasure to see these kids take pride in their club and in their event that they have for themselves, just to get out and ride with the community. Oh, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, actually welcome, CYCTV. Our viewers down in Salem are watching this show now, and look for some of the events that we're going to announce on future shows. Well, I have the privilege of introducing our very special guest in the event corner. Dan Kaufman is the producer of Crank My Chain, and a movie producer, that is. I've had an opportunity to work with him and found it to be a great pleasure. So he's going to take about 5 minutes to give us some little tidbits over in the Northwest Bicycle Safety Council event corner. Take it away, Dan.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. Well, yeah, us here at Crank My Chain TV, and you can find it at crankmychain.tv, would like to talk about some of the things that are happening as summer kind of wraps up and fall approaches. One thing that you got to check out is the BTA's, Bicycle Transportation Alliance's Bike Commute Challenge. It's a great website where you can go and check into biking to work, challenge yourself, challenge others at your workplace, and challenge other workplaces and other individuals out there to bike to work in the month of September. It's not too late to sign up. Go to bikecommutechallenge.com and see how many miles and how many days you can ride to work. This is a good time to do it too, because as summer wraps up, the weather's still good, you can get into your habit of riding to work, and you might just find yourself ready to take on those rainy days of the fall and winter season. Again, that's bikecommutechallenge.com. Now, another thing I'm sure you're aware of, we are in the middle of the political season 2008. And I believe that democracy requires an active and informed electorate. So we'd like at crankmychain.tv to ask everybody to speak to your representatives, your elected leaders, about their position on bicycle transportation and safety issues. I believe that bikes can combat pollution, congestion, our petroleum dependency, and obesity and other health issues. So these are some key issues that are easily solved. We've all got bikes in the garage, we're just not using them. So I'd like to also remind you that October 14th is the last day that you can register in the state of Oregon to vote in this upcoming very important election. Now there's also some grassroots things that you can do and become involved with. I must mention the Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, and that's who puts on this show. And those folks are about education in bicycle-related issues, doing the right thing when it comes to riding your bike. And this show is just one of the things that they do. So check out their website. I'm not going to go into all the websites of the things I mentioned here. So just get on an internet search engine and look up Northwest Bicycle Safety Council. Also, the BTA, which I mentioned earlier, the Bicycle Transportation Alliance. They're another great advocacy group, mostly work here in the state of Oregon and Portland, but they have done a lot to make the bike scene here in Portland what it is and across the state. And you should definitely, if you're a bicyclist, consider joining that organization. Some events that I'd like to bring up are World Car Free Day. That's next Monday, September 22nd. So it's a good day to not drive the car, and to take that on into the rest of the year. And then Cross Crusade, which was brought up earlier, the cyclocross season starts the first Sunday in October, and that is just a great series. You will see some die-hard fans, and a neat form, I think one of the best forms of racing for spectators is cyclocross. So even if you don't race yourself, go down and check it out at Alpenrose, again the first Sunday in October, and there's going to be several options there as well. And then the Portland Transportation Safety Summit, and that is coming up October 6th, and that's brought to you by the City of Portland. And finally, I want to talk about one thing that I'm doing right now. I'm editing a video. It's for the Transportation Liberation Roadshow, and that is a presentation I saw at the Car Free Conference earlier this summer. It's 40 minutes, a lot longer than most of the videos that I put up on the internet, but you really got to watch it. It's a great video, and it tells a lot about why we should move to bikes and other options. And I appreciate having the time here on the show, Cycology Today, and back to you, Bruce.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. I agree. If you get your bicycles out of the garage, take them down from the rafters and get out on the road, I can tell you one thing. I guarantee that that will help make bicycling safer in Oregon. If we have more people on the road, it brings about a certain kind of awareness. Also, I'd like to mention we're going to have Hal Ballard on our show in December, and he has an And We Bike program that Northwest Bicycle Safety Council participates in, and also he's opening up a new West Side bike shop that's a nonprofit organization, and they're going to teach kids how to repair bikes, take in bikes. There's a whole big program. They have a grand opening October 4th, so look for that on our website as well as on Washco BTC. The other thing I'd like to mention is that Dan's going to be on our show, so you'll get to see him again on November 18th. And it's going to be Dan Kaufman with Phil Brown, who is the president of Portland Wheelman Touring Club, and Commissioner Dick Scouten, who just returned from Holland, and he's going to give us some tidbits on some things that he learned over there. Also, John Beninati is a big deal to me. But you know what? There's somebody that he told me moments ago that he even admires, and that person is going to be on our October 21st show, and that's Oliver Butch Martin. He was inducted in the National Bicycle Racing Hall of Fame in 2005. He's a very articulate person. He's a very you can approach him very easily, that is what I'm trying to say, and really a gentleman. He is still coaching racing, and we're going to hear from him in October. Also, we're going to have Steve Wabnitz, who is from Beaverton Optimist Club, and he's going to give us a little tidbit on some bike paths and trails. Something near and dear to my heart. We have TV producers at TVCTV who bike. So we're going to have a few of those on. Dr. Don said he'll be here. Sean Savage says he's going to work on it. I saw him out riding, so he can't escape that. Jimmy Margolis and Richard Blank. Richard Blank is our producer down at CCTV in Salem, so you'll want to tune in and catch some of these producers who bike. Now, we're going to turn this back over to Ann because we want to hear from our racers. Back to you, Ann.
Okay, well, thanks, guys, for that interesting information. And let's get back to the topic at hand. We've got some of John's race team here this evening. And John, I'm going to ask you to introduce from my left here, to introduce the boys, give their ages and maybe a little bit about them. And then we're going to ask them some questions about their bicycling and how they interact with you and bike.
All right. Well, let's see. First we have Naquan Pellman. Naquan is 12 years old, and he's a very fast spinner. He loves his Cannondale bicycle, and he's a very trusty domestique to his captain, sitting right there on his right, Deshaun Lee. Deshaun's 13. He's the bronze medalist on the velodrome in track racing, and he's leading the 13-year-old bar here in Oregon. Over here, I have Markel Brown. He's 12 years old. And to his left, I have one of his collegiate mentors from PSU, Glenn Gomez-Mead.
Okay, thank you, John. Now, domestique, what does that mean? What does that word mean to you?
To me, I think it means as a helper, a supporter, someone to back him up and just be right by his side, going through trouble. He goes through trouble, I go through trouble. And just being one part of one person together. So that's what it means to me.
Sounds like quite a role to play. And John, would you elaborate at all on that and how he plays that role?
Well, certainly he does a lot of work that isn't going to put him into a winning situation. Mm-hmm. So if he spends a lot of time out in the wind, Deshaun might direct when that takes place, and he'll be on his wheel. in the draft, saving 25%. I'm sure all of your Cycology Today viewers know exactly what's going on there. He, in training and in practice, is also someone who might be the first to help with a wheel change or a flat or something like that. By and large, it's camaraderie at this age. In the pros, of course, the tradition in the Tour de France is a domestique might just get off his bike and hand it to a star who has had a flat, and then he sits and waits. The domestique sits and waits for the wheel change to come. So.
A lot of us don't understand all the terminology and strategy of this, and it's fun to learn and realize that there's so much more to it than just pedaling fast and being in pain. Deshawn, now you're a bronze medalist. Why don't you tell us about how that came about this last summer, right? Tell us about the race that happened in.
Oh, it happened in the Swan Island Crit. Yeah.
No, it happened on the velodrome.
Oh, yeah, it actually happened on the velodrome. Yeah, it was pretty.
The track Danny was out there.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was cool that I got to be third place in the bar, and the race, it was interesting. Yeah. And
how long have you been racing and working with John?
I've been racing for about a year now.
So you've had a good summer.
Yeah.
You started out at Dishman, right?
Yep.
How did we meet?
At your roller practice.
How did you know to go to Dishman at the roller practice? How did you hear about it?
My mom was doing something there, so I came and I saw them in the hallway doing the roller practice, so I asked if I could try it out, and I actually started to like it.
And here you are.
Yep.
It was amazing. He could fall off, and he'd want back on. He wouldn't want anybody to help him. He just wanted on. He just wanted to get back on his bicycle. I've seen that in people of all ages, of all different demographics, and when I see that, I know it's time to get to work.
I guess so. Well, Glenn, how did you come to find John? I mean, you're kind of older. Why don't you tell us about your relationship with bike?
Okay. Well, basically, I lived in the same building as John. We both attend Portland State University, and riding my bike around like crazy through the streets of Portland. He noticed basically me and my friends. He calls us the Fixies. That's what he called us. And so then we started from there, and our team slowly began to grow, and we started mentoring these kids. Gotta love them, can't live with them, can't live without them, that kind of thing. So we've been racing this whole year, and it's taken off like crazy.
So what kinds of things have you done in the role of mentor this summer?
Oh, and mentor, basically help them with homework. We go gardening together. We go downtown. We basically just hang out, honestly. It doesn't really feel like mentoring much, but when it comes to bicycling and on the velodrome, there's definitely a lot of learning done. And I actually learn a lot more than they'll ever know, and that I learn from them. Don't tell them that. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I'm always mindful of there being a protective sphere around whatever our pack is doing, so that's what I use the adults for.
Well, it seems like you need, more of an adult-kid ratio. That always helps to...
We're typically 5 to 10 to 1. 5 to 10 adults to 1 child.
No wonder they blossom so quickly.
That's right. I've never had a child come up and say, you know, John, today I received too much attention. I felt 10 people was really too much paying attention. I've never heard it.
Well,
the next one's Markel Brown.
Markel.
He's the youngest. He's 11 years old. He's
You're
about
just
to be 12.
11?
Yeah, well,
Oh, that's right. 2 days ago, you're 12. Happy
Yeah.
birthday,
Okay.
Markel.
All right.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Markel, what kind of racing did you do this summer? Did you race in the velodrome and the criterium races?
Well, I didn't do the velodrome and the recent criterium, but I did the one in Vancouver. Yeah, and it was my first race, so I was really excited for it, and I did pretty good for a beginner, you know.
You came in safely.
Yeah, I came in safely. Yeah.
First race, that's all that matters.
Yeah, so...
What was going through your head right before the race? Did you have butterflies? Were you nervous?
I had everything. I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to finish fast and get there and stay on somebody's wheel, you know.
And what did you think about while you were riding? That's a question I always wonder. What are people thinking about while they're racing?
I didn't know what I was thinking. I was just wondering about how I'm doing and all the time left and what place I'm in and if who's ahead of me so I could get closer and get on their wheel and everything, you know. How
did you feel physically? Did your legs hurt? Did your muscles scream at you?
Well, my legs were like, come on, get off. I just kept going, pushing myself.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One little piece I want to add to that is that the transition he went from fear to accomplishment was glorious. You know, I think that's one of the best things that happens when a child exposes themselves to working hard for a bicycle race, goes through all that fear and anticipation, and then bridges the gap, gets through to the other side. Now it's an accomplishment behind them, something they can reflect on, and that really, I think, helps their character to blossom.
So that's part, to me, that's part of the empowerment part. You realize that you can handle this, so you can handle that.
Right, absolutely. That's how it works.
Well, let's see here. Who should I pick on? Naquan, how you're working with bikes and John and that sort of thing. Reflecting back over the last year, how do you think you've grown as a person and as a bicyclist?
I think I've grown as I open up more to people. I'm not shy as I used to be, and when I got with John, started all of this with bike, I feel that I became a whole new person. Something just opened up out of me, took over, and just made me a better person, and that's why I love it.
Is there one event in particular that you think kind of affected you that way, or has it been kind of just an overall?
I would say an overall thing, because it just like helped me through and just push me forward to what I want to achieve, what I want to become, and just made me do all that. And I'm happy for it.
Good.
I like turning into Naquan when we're gardening, because a lot of you who garden know that the season's turning and all the basil's trying to bud and be done. And Deshaun, I mean, he's a good kid and all, but I mean, he pulls that basil side to side. Only Naquan can go up with a touch and get that basil off of there so that the basil keeps growing up through the winter. So I look to him sometimes when we have to do some finite work. He's a gentle soul, and he pays attention to detail.
Is he a cook too?
He is a good cook, but the real cook is Markel.
Oh, the real cook is Markel.
Yeah, he cooks in Vietnamese, Italian. He's got them all. So he's the one you want.
And do you benefit from them cooking?
Can't you tell? Yeah, certainly. I think it's important. I think I really want them to learn to be hoteliers. I want them to get all of the pieces they need to offer great hospitality. I think that's something that benefits all of us in our family lives and in business. So
that's true. Those are good attributes to have across the board.
You bet.
Yeah, good idea. All right, next up, Deshaun. Let's see here. You raced in the velodrome race.
Yep.
Why don't you describe that a little bit more for us? Because a lot of us have never done that, probably never will do that, and don't maybe completely understand it. Why don't you tell us about a velodrome race and what you do?
A velodrome race is just like you're in this big bowl, and there's two straightaways, one on each side of the track, and there's two walls, and they're at a 42-degree angle. And the whole point of well, not the whole point, but when you're racing, you're trying to stay between a red and black line. It's like by the ground, kinda. And when you're right there, you'll save like 10 feet of your you won't have to go 10 feet more if you're above that. And while you're racing, you're trying to stay on somebody's wheel, and you'll save 25% of your energy, so you'll have like a better chance of like passing the people that you're sticking on. And when you race, you try to stay on the first, second, or third person's wheel, so you'll come in a higher place. And yeah, you have to like have strategies of what to do, when to do it, and stuff.
So is the velodrome racing the more technical kind of racing? I mean, it sounds like a lot of things to keep in mind. Do you think it's more technical than like criterium racing or road racing?
Yeah, I think it's more, yeah.
And what do you think about when you're racing?
I think about like what place I'm going to come in, like how long can I stay on somebody's wheel, and like a bunch of things, and when are these butterflies going to get out my stomach?
Well, I'm glad to hear you guys have those too, because I have them just for club rides sometimes. And your muscles yell at you too? Your muscles get tired and you want to quit, and what do you do about that?
Yeah, they like yell at me. But in road races, if I just like pour water on my skin suit and my legs just start to get ice, and I won't really feel it that much. But in track races, I just have to deal with it, and it pays off.
So you can block that out of your mind, huh?
Yeah.
Track races don't last as long.
Ah.
Short pain.
If you can just hold on, it's over soon.
So, Glenn, what do you tell some of these kids in their racing, in their riding? What kinds of advice do you give them, and have you given them this past summer to improve?
Well, basically, the main point is they don't get hurt. I'd rather have them not fall and get last place than fall and get first place. Another thing is always stick on a wheel. Be very mindful of your surroundings, who you're around, and just when we're riding our bike downtown, we're always very mindful of the traffic. Always wearing our safety gear, always reminding them that, of course, and basically just be very aware of what's going on, and also to enjoy it while you can, you know, and the pain will go away as soon as you're done. We'll do yoga afterwards, definitely, and that's another thing we do a lot of. We do a lot of yoga, do a lot of stretching, we eat really good, a lot of that stuff. So I think they've all grown to enjoy the cyclismal lore, as we call it. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I'd kind of forgotten about the yoga. And Markel, are you doing yoga too?
Yeah, I am.
And how do you think that's benefited you?
Well, you know, I've been tense in the back and all kinds of stuff, and it just releases that and makes me feel relaxed and comfortable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I feel like it's helped me out. I like doing it because it makes me feel peaceful in mind, so, yeah.
Do you think you would be doing yoga if it hadn't been introduced to you this way?
I don't know. Probably, maybe. Maybe.
Okay, how about you, Naquan? You guys all do yoga. What do you think about doing yoga? I think that's kind of an interesting concept.
What I think about it is that when we do yoga, we're just stretching our muscles, opening them, and just letting them get their chance to breathe and relax. And I just like doing it with them because they make it fun and interesting, and if I didn't do it with them, I guess I wouldn't do it at all.
We were doing our yoga in the wrestling room at Portland State University with Coach Mike Kaluska, who's one of my old teammates and used to be our cyclocross coach. And one thing led to another, and pretty soon the boys were learning the basic techniques of how to wrestle. And they were wrestling college guys and climbing pegboards and doing pull-ups, and so our yoga on that day led to a whole bunch of other opportunities.
Something totally different.
Something totally different.
I read about that in the blog, and that sounded like a fun evening.
Well, they have a longer muscles or stronger muscles, or what I always say. I like things that rhyme.
Now I know that sometimes John has one of you boys pull him. Who's done that? Who's pulled? Everybody has. Okay. Deshaun, why don't you tell us about why do you pull John around, and how does it benefit you?
The reason why we pull John around is because we get to places faster. He teaches us stuff while we're riding, like keep our knees in, heels down, elbows bent, and it benefits us because we're learning good technique and we're getting stronger. He's teaching us how to spin faster, stay in easy gear.
So he's kind of coaching you directly while you're pretty much side by side or really close to each other.
I had no idea he was listening. This is great. I can't believe that he said all that. That's good.
Quoting you verbatim, huh? That is good.
Yeah.
And Glenn, you've done this too?
Oh, yeah. I've towed John all around Portland, northwest, east, south.
Yeah.
He's been everywhere. It's fun. It's a good time, you know. I kind of wish he'd lose a little weight, but it helps. It helps my strength training. So.
I do it all for you.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Maybe you could rent him out or something.
Yeah,
as
maybe.
A trainer.
I tell people that. I say, you know, normally I charge people $25 an hour for this kind of strength training, but since you and I are tight, you know, I'll only charge you half. You know,
it's the team discount.
I'm getting towed up a hill.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. We get around pretty fast, actually, and it's pretty funny when you see a bike team. It's John's in the middle, and then there's 3 guys, each holding on each other's back, pushing up this gigantic hill. We're a pretty strong force. We're a very strong force, actually.
And very capable. That means that when somebody comes across my team's line in a sprint, they're not going to let that person take them out. They are comfortable on their bikes, and we're not going to be the victim.
Yeah, that's good training for that, too. I hadn't thought about that.
And certainly I am kind of rotund and not as light as a feather, so, you know, they get stronger for that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There's a lot to that.
And it came out of necessity. I mean, I'm in a wheelchair and I want to be there where everybody is.
Right.
So let me go, too. Now I can get in a car. I sometimes ride my hand cycle,
Yeah.
but often my wheelchair is just the thing that's ready to go, and it's got wheels. I also find it's a great advertisement for urban cycling. People typically think in an urban environment, I think of a person who's disabled as being maybe a weaker member of the community. And when we, you know, move through the traffic, that is completely turned on its head.
Yeah.
And there's so much love and energy in our group, you know, and so much discipline. People really get happy when they see us coming down the road.
I'm sure that's true. Markel, your turn again. Markel, Bike strives to empower kids, and so you're just kind of getting into this, and you're pretty young, and maybe not even clear on the concept of empowerment. But how has Bike empowered you?
Well, I've got to work with people better than I used to, and it showed me how to work with others and cooperate, and you know, I've opened my ears to John and listen to the stuff he's saying, and he's helped me. We've worked together on the garden to start it, and I think that's something fun. I might want to do it when I get older, you know.
That's a good hobby. Now, have you always done the gardening thing in the summer, or is this a new thing this year?
Well, Markel actually planted all the corn, and our corn is amazing. I can't believe our corn is growing the way it is. Ask any match sprinter, and he'll tell you, or she'll tell you, that you take it up, and then you got to recover. You take it up in your protein system, you got to put it down at 1 second to 4 minutes. So that's a lot of sitting there in your lawn chair drinking water. I feel the issues at hand amongst, especially to the minds of young leaders like these, are so critical that we cannot wait around in our lawn chairs drinking distilled water. We have to do it now. We have to learn as much as we possibly can now. I'm trying to keep it functional. I'm trying to keep them happy. I'm not school. I'm after school.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with the mentors. He talks about working with people in his team building skills, and he talks about listening to me. You know, he doesn't just listen to me. He listens to a lot of other people who are taking a more critical appraisal of themselves and trying to say it just right. We've got this leadership sprouting up all throughout our organization like a garden. And these models, I can't explain them or completely justify them, but they're as old as the hills. And I just go back to the basics. We say benevolence, good form, simplicity, and team. I'm always happy when I'm gardening. He feels honor when the corn gets real tall. So that's pretty much been this year.
Well, thank you, team members, and thank you, John.
Thank you, everyone. It's such an honor.
Well, I invited Dan to come back up on the stage with us. Yeah. And, you know, we're going to see Dan again in, what did I say, in November. And that's November 18th. And he will be here with a host of others. And really, John, thank you for coming. And you have
Pleasure's
such
all mine.
a great
So
team.
honored.
I'm very
Thank you.
familiar with your team.
Yes.
And your champion, one of your champions is Gary Brannon,
Oh, indeed.
who always is
Dear
looking out
Gary.
for bike.
Yes.
And then when we hear things all the time.
You can always hear Gary.
Can you take 60 seconds, tell us what are some of the needs that you have for your program and how do people contact you?
Well, let me say, first of all, that Bicycles and Ideas for Kids Empowerment is a nonprofit, so anything that you might want to maybe bestow upon us is tax deductible. But certainly we need bicycles, bicycle clothing. These kids are going to get old enough to go to college, and we're going to need scholarships. We have to pay all the expenses that any organization does to keep the doors open. And I think that if you enjoy the mission that we're engaging in right now, you're certainly welcome to join us, literally, as a volunteer. So as the rain comes, I'm going to be thinking about arm warmers and raincoats and helmets and gloves. So whether it be your personal effort or something you might like to give to us to help us do the job, we'd love to have it.
Well, thank you for that. And you know, Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, as we mentioned, is also a nonprofit organization. We're involved with ongoing bicycle safety fairs with communities and schools. We have clinics that we do for community groups and for various cities, kids camps, and various bike rides. We even have a senior rollers. We got a ride for old people, and I happen to ride in that particular ride. We have a Women on Wheels ride. These are social rides. Also, Portland Wheelman Touring Club has a lot of rides. I'm a ride leader for Portland Wheelman. Ann is also a ride leader for Portland Wheelman. In fact, when we do our welcome rides, which I had my last one this month, I work for Ann. She's my boss, you know. But anyway, the programs there's a lot of connectivity out there. You can contact www.nwbicyclesafetycouncil.org and connect to other websites. We'll make sure that we have bike on there, and you can get to them through us. And if there are any special things that you think you could do for this organization, by all means, contact John through his website or his email. And it's time for us to wrap up. Dan, thank you for coming. We're going to see you again. These young men did a fine job. And parting words, 20 seconds.
Oh, gosh. Get out there and ride.
Yeah.
And and I'd like to remind you that you are responsible for your own safety. When you pass a bicyclist, please pass with care. Obey the law. If you don't know the law, read the laws. The materials are free. You can contact ODOT through Northwest Bicycle Safety Council and get a bicyclist manual, or you can get a driver's manual at a lot of satellite places free. And this is Bruce Buffington
And Ann Morrow
saying we will see you next time, and thank you for joining us.